no boundaries. And they're like, and then one kid was like, what's MMA? And he's like, mixed martial arts. And I hung my head. I'm like, oh, all right, you kids just don't get it yet.
One day.
That was my morning the other day, man.
One day you're gonna open. You're gonna wake up to the kid.
One day, man. One day they're gonna be, I love MMA, and they're like, who is that? And be like, you don't know. He's one of the
X-Slayer Terran.
He's one of the best Terrans in StarCraft 2.
Boom.
You're like, yeah, he's like one of the first people to pioneer blue flame builds back in TVT. And the other kid's like, what's TVT? And he's like, ah, you're hopeless.
One day. Everybody.
Yes, one day, Andre. But maybe today is the day we get to see maybe even a big upset on Demuslim's behalf, Andre. Let's introduce our players before we even tell people our predictions. In the bottom right corner from Team No Team. From Team Slayers, I guess, right now, because he's still on it contractually.
Yeah, but
I
don't think Slayers want him.
MMA.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Repeat that.
From Team Slayers, it is MMA. One of the most successful Terrans in StarCraft 2.
But I don't think Slayer wants him.
GSL champion. Oh, Slayers wants him, man. Why else would they not let him out of his contract?
They're spiting him.
Oh.
They said he was a cancer to the team.
That's true. That's. I mean, that is pretty tough.
Yeah. that when you're called a cancer to a team, I don't think that's
one of the most offensive things you can say to a person, I think, across cultures. But you know what? It's okay because MMA is still a great player. And I wish the best for him, whatever team he ends up going on. In the top left, we have from Team Evil Genius's Raid Call, potentially a future teammate of MMA. It is Demuslim, one of the most successful regular season players in the North American Star League. Demuslim, when he's on top of his game, he is, I mean, everyone calls him the handsome devil Terran, but he is also just, he plays like so clever. He's so good with his execution. And Demuslim's one of those guys who just seems, when he's on top of his game, he's just awesome. He's he's unbeatable.
Demuslim is opening up gambling a little bit here. Actually, a lot of it, I should say, as he's opened up for a 14cc and he didn't scout at all. Now, the reason why it's so important to scout, because you can have a proxy right here, right here, right here, right here. There's so many proxy positions where you can just straight up die. Like, there's no hope. And, of course, Demuslim, gets an SEV kill.
Nice. That was a good pick off there. I do know what you're saying, Andre. Although I don't think is Proxy Marauder even still popular nowadays?
Yes. Look at Select, really? Man.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Select still does it quite often, and I find it on ladder here and there. But SEVs are a little bit faster than Marines, so he should be able to catch up. I love Demuslim's decision right here. Just sending one single SEV, he should be able to take care of him.
Yeah. So he's like, I got this, bro.
One kill right there. Nicely done by Demuslim. So he picks up the first 2 kills. Units lost tab shows 2-0. Perfect game so far for Demuslim. Let's see how he's able to actually use that. Very interesting opening. A lot of players actually love to go double assimilator, double geyser directly after this. Yeah. Double refinery. Demuslim changing it up, going 3 barracks.
Yeah, and he might not even stop there, because I know Thorzane for a while. Oh, just kidding, he is double refinery, but Thorzane for a while would add on maybe 4 barracks and then poke with Marines.
Yeah.
Back in the day, but I don't know if they maybe shared builds, and that's just probably Thorzane's style compared to Demuslim's.
Well, we're gonna have 2 rounds of pokeouts. It should be a pokeout right now. When he gets a good amount of Marines, he wants to trade as best as possible. And then there's going to be another pokeout once he actually gets combat shields. Combat shield timings are actually really powerful in TVT. It comes at a point where if you go stim, you're going to get punished, because stim takes 170 seconds, combat shield takes 110 seconds. So you get a whole minute of timing to take advantage of your opponent.
Ooh, that one Marine, man. He spots the rest of the Marines poking out. Look at this from MMA. He's going for a 3rd command center, very greedy. And he's not going to be prepared back at home until his Hellions come out to the field, immediately evacuating. And that's a good choice. Rather than trying to fight for position, just let Demuslim have it for now, because he knows.
Oh, wow. Look at how much damage has been done. And also a supply cap. That's important to note. 38 out of 38. We have MMA not ready for this attack whatsoever. Now SEVs will be pulled.
He really wants to prevent this bunker from going up. And
great micro.
Very good split from Demuslim. Look at that control, and the 2 Hellions are ineffective. This bunker will go up, Andre.
Yeah, and 2 Hellions will pop out, but it doesn't matter. The bunker being up there really, really stops MMA in his tracks. He can't really do anything, and I like this. Using a medevac, or making a medevac now, to actually lift up his Hellions and try to skirt around all the units. But when it comes down to it, you can see Combat Shields is already coming out here. And Demuslim knows what to prepare for. He already has his eBay in case there is some sort of Banshee timing. So he can easily throw down some turrets. I would actually assume he puts down preemptive turrets, and there the first one goes. Actually, the first 3 go. But let's be honest, I mean, Demuslim's so far ahead just because he delayed not only this mining base, but all those mules that were down there.
Yeah, look how many SCVs he's up right now. 38 to 27, that's so big. Yes, MMA has triple orbital, but for now, Demuslim's advantage is very significant at this stage of the game. Also, I love that Demuslim's being really safe with his turrets, scans, and sees a starport with an available tech lab. Just assumes that Banshees could be out. Doesn't want to give up his lead in any shape or form. Now, we already see the shapings of mid-game for MMA as he's adding on 2 more factories. And Mech is very powerful on Ohana. We were talking about this a lot while we're watching MVP versus Life.
MMA committing the most expensive scout you could possibly commit. This medevac over here. That's much better at doing other things rather than just chilling in this top middle position. I'm sure it's going to go down to an impending Viking. But as it stands right now,
it's 1 medevac, man. Oh, a bust attempt also at the bottom of the ramp, and MMA should be able to get it out pretty easily. But again, the delay in the mining has been pretty significant. Although, one thing that is going on in favor of MMA is that it might give Demuslim a sense of relaxation, saying he might think he's more ahead than he actually is because he doesn't know about this 3rd command center.
That's a big problem, and I feel like he should have actually sent something, seeing as this factory was just so delayed, and just stuff on the ground is so delayed. He should have said, oh, my opponent probably has some sort of expansion. I mean, this is a considerable amount of money not to be on the field, whether it be SCVs. He didn't even see an SCV count, so it can't be SCVs. Whether it be, you know, just Marines, bunkers, Hellions, etc. None of that was on the field. So I guess that's a little bit of a mistake for Demuslim. That's a very hard read to actually make. You have to be in this situation so many different times to actually make that type of call, like, oh yeah, my opponent has a proxy expansion.
And this medevac's still here. And Demuslim still has units on it. Well,
yeah,
he's like, well...
Demuslim's doing it right. He's respecting his opponent and saying, you could have units in there. I don't have any verification to say you do or don't. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that you don't leave. Until Vikings come out, of course. But that's good play coming out from Demuslim.
You can imagine the Marine saying to Marauder, well, that medevac's got to run out of gas sometime, right? It's got to land somewhere. The Marines and Marauders from Demuslim are poking out to the middle of the map, taking control of their watchtower again. Just threatening the poke, just like you said, with that combat shield. Of course, Stim is about to line up as well. And Demuslim has a lot of temporary map control. And you can see that Demuslim is now starting to move his way to the 3rd base, suspecting in case it's been up for a while, and it has been. MMA has been able to really prioritize that gas because that's your limiting resource when you go for mech.
MMA doesn't have any spotters, though. There's the big Stim. And, oh gosh, the Muslims units aren't actually lined up very nicely. Those Hellions are going to scorch everything. As you can see, he's targeting down the command center.
Oh, another Stim. The Muslim really wants it, although he's not going to be able to get it at all. Great attempt, but in the end, MMA does save it. But, well, again, this fast 3rd is for the gas. Not maybe, yeah, sure, minerals are great, but the availability of gas for mech is just so strong, especially early on, Andre. You always tell me that.
That's right, and that doesn't mean Demuslim is slightly behind because of this. I mean, when you have a trade like that and the meching Terran is just so far ahead in terms of units, it makes it increasingly harder for Demuslim to apply, you know, really, really powerful aggression. And with Vikings out in the field for MMA, it makes it 10 times harder because now dropships will be shut down pretty nicely.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. Oh, wow, this siege tank is actually terribly positioned for this incoming attack. MMA not paying attention.
Ooh. Oh, second Viking.
Okay, I thought units might not have been able to get by there. That was scary.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit of a scary moment. This is an interesting state of the mid game, Andre, because normally, you know, and we back when I was training in Terran, you were telling me all the time, as a bio player, you should be taking expansions more aggressively than the mech player, so that way you can constantly, you know, outproduce and control the map more.
That's right.
And Demuslim does control the center of the map, but it's just that MMA has been expanding quicker, so his tech is actually pretty well developed relative to his opponent. And now, just like you said, he's going to put up his sensor towers and have his Vikings up, so he's going to be, as long as MMA is on top of this game, he's going to be unable to be dropped and broken.
Yeah, theoretically, MMA is ahead, I would say. If everything plays out standardly, MMA is going to have just a gigantic advantage. I mean, we don't see any indicator of actually getting increased amount of tanks, which is normally something you need. You need some sort of tech switch. You can't stay on Marine Marauder, because if MMA plays it perfectly, then he should be able to clear out everything. But you know, there could be micro blunders that happen on top of that. You know, Demuslim hasn't really gotten a 4th base, and you need a 4th base pretty badly, so you have expendable units. On top of that, you can switch over to something like battle cruisers. Battle cruisers is the other main option that you can go to properly engage against a meching army, obviously, because battle cruisers just say LOL siege tanks, you can't actually attack up.
This is interesting that MMA is prioritizing his weapons and not really getting any armor upgrades, so that's going to really empower the Marines. The Muslim's going to just go for a huge triple drop into the main, Andre. Can these medevacs get it off in time? And it looks like the one batch will. In fact, all of them will safely be able to get into the main base. How much damage will it be able to do? As Demuslim does have his +2 armor about to finish up, making him pretty sturdy against some of the hits from the Hellions. So you can see that MMA's not even pulling his workers away from any of the bio. I guess he's really confident in his ability to hold it off. Meanwhile, Demuslim, normally this is the cue that you get to move into the 3rd base. He does have a force that's moving over towards that path. He's going to stim in as well. Is MMA going to be in position? This is what you need to be doing as a bio player.
This is really scary. He's targeting on the Marauders first, which is okay, but look at how fast those siege tanks just melt, and units are not in position. Demuslim is doing everything that he needs to. I'm really surprised that MMA doesn't actually receive this a little bit better, but this is what I'm talking about. Now another round of units coming out here. Can they actually kill the siege tanks? Oh my god, so many units are on siege here. Frodan, the siege tanks are going down. This is valuable position that MMA is actually losing. On top of that, this is supply that he's losing, and you need supply to cover more area. All the way down to 122 supply? I don't think so. You can't cover your main, your natural, your 3rd base, and 4th base at the same time. It's not feasible. Demuslim looking really good just with that combination attack. He's done that very, very well. I thought he wouldn't have an opening, but man, Demuslim showing, hey, I know a lot better than you, Gretorp.
I'm going to show you. Forcing an opening from his opponent.
That's right.
And the triple drop was, again, just to bait enough units. In fact, it baited all of MMA's units other than 2 tanks and was able to get critical economic damage in. And Demuslim is also just finished +3. He's going to have a very nice window where his Marauders are incredibly strong against this mech army. Yeah. Now, MMA does have a 4th base, and he's trying to establish more of his map presence again, getting up his center towers. But this quad drop from Demuslim, absorbing the damage from the missile turrets, and you see that Demuslim stimming in. You're going to target down the starport as well and the reactor. That's a lot of valuable time lost. MMA looks like he's falling apart to just the strong tactics of Demuslim.
That's what it is. And you know what? I have to mention this because I didn't mention it last time. The Vikings in the beginning actually were so clutch at actually giving those medevacs a room to actually drop and not die to his opponent's Vikings. Now this will get cleared up, but look at all the room that Demuslim gets to walk around. This is only 3 siege tanks. There is a PDD over here, but look, a 4th base is completely undefended. You're going to see reinforcements coming in from the top. This going to be cutting off, at least delaying a lot of the units from actually approaching up here. And you're going to see bye-bye Planetary Fortress, because there is not enough to actually defend this 1PF.
Yeah, he doesn't have the tanks in position. MMA forced to drop a siege. Demuslim's going to rush towards it, but I think that kind of trade is okay for Demuslim because he's still moving out to his 4th base. He now has a good number of production, as long as he can continue to keep the siege tank count down. Because at one point it was MMA was being able to deal with, he's losing SCVs, but he's still keeping his army. And now he still has a pretty healthy tank count at 8.
And I do want to mention one thing, actually not yet. Demuslim is actually going to try to receive this army as well as possible. This is going to be actually really tough. You can see a lot of siege tanks there. Just one fire can actually decimate this army, so you need to be so careful. all game long we've seen this ship plating actually being upgraded. I can't stress how smart. I can't stress enough how smart that is. I love ship plating, and more importantly, you're always looking at what are you doing with your advantage, Demuslim? What are you doing to get ahead in this game? And he's trying to get air control. And once he gets air control, he's able to use medevacs a lot more efficiently. He can probably scatter drop and make it so Siege Tanks don't do nearly as much damage. And also, the healing also works out. So he's going to try to get air control, but we're going to see. Oh, nicely done. Nicely done.
Baiting out the Vikings so that the Marines can pick it off, but 1 point defense drone does help MMA a lot. The Marauders are now mobilizing, although MMA trying to fight for position so that he can bait the Marauders into the tank shots. SCVs are repairing as furiously as they can, but the Vikings are also pushing it back. MMA has now also dislodged the 4th base of the Muslim. Great trades from both players, blow by blow, making sure to kind of limit each other. And that was MMA's first move out into the map, and I think that was pretty successful.
But MMA didn't actually remake his reactored starport. That's probably one of the most important things you need to do when you're going mech. You need some sort of reactored starport to get that Viking count. If you don't have that Viking count, you're actually going to be so far behind in keeping up the mobility. You need to punish the Bio Terran for actually having those medevacs and not having enough anti-air to actually accommodate that army. And that's why I feel like MMA still needs to piece everything together before we can push out and be aggressive, because there's still a lot of things, although this is really scary. Does the Muslim have enough, Frodan?
I mean, either way, MMA has one huge push incoming with, we does have +2, the Muslim is at 3-3. Now, again, if the Muslim plays his cards right, flanks are very strong Ohana if you're able to get a good enough scan off and react accordingly. That's why both players are making sure to scan on all parts of the map, get a good sense of where each other's armies are positioned. MMA now finishing up his 4th base, finally kind of trying to time it a little bit similar to Demuslim, but Demuslim, just like you said, has been grabbing more and more of the air advantage compared to his opponent, while MMA hasn't really been able to remake it.
I didn't actually see this. If we look at upgrades, Siege Tanks are only 2-0.
Yeah.
This is actually a very unupgraded army with 3-3 on the field. I feel like this bio army is actually considerably stronger than I initially thought.
Well, maybe it may or may not matter depending on the Siege Tank AoE.
I don't think
a massive Marauders are dying straight to the raw power of the mech army. And the Muslim lost a huge chunk of supply, easy 30 supply. Here's a mini run by, though, from the Muslim trying to get to the 3rd place. That's a nice pickoff. It's going to annoy MMA a lot, draw his attention back and forth. The air advantage from the Muslim is very strong, as there is no form of anti-air other than this one Thor. The Marauders trying to hold on to this 4th base for dear life. MMA cleans up the army at the 3rd base, but MMA still hasn't made a move to his own 4th base.
Now, if Demuslim did this earlier, he would have scatter drops at his disposal, and the scatter drops would actually be so advantageous. That's when you actually drop on top of the Siege Tanks, make the Siege Tanks attack each other, basically. The AoE will do tons of damage, and not only that, because you're scattering one at a time, they won't actually do any AoE to the units being dropped. So it's really effective ways of making full uses of your units, and obviously really messing up the meching Terran to the point where the concave won't really do that much damage. Or excuse me, the concave won't be killed as fast. I'm just talking crazy today.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Andre. But the Muslim has this Viking spot.
Oh, wow. And look at how many medevacs he has. Frodan, I actually feel like if MMA doesn't make a move pretty soon, the Muslim is going to keep to have just a gigantic advantage in the next attack, just because of those scatter drops. I can't wait. I think we're going to see that. The Muslim, don't prove me wrong, but this is so many medevacs not to have something like that.
Does MMA have to really rush, though? Because in his mind, he has the economic advantage. He's secured his 4th base, and if he keeps pressuring the 4th, then the Muslim really can't keep making the units at the rate he is, right?
Yeah, you might be right.
Isn't that what MMA is thinking?
I feel like it's really hard to justify anything for MMA at this point. You don't have air control, so attacking is so difficult.
He really has no air control to the spot. Oh, the Hellions just barely missed the mass drop that the Muslim's preparing. Whoa, man! Imagine if MMA saw that. Then there'd be no entry point. But the Muslim, this is high risk, high reward.
And finally, now we have Vikings double producing. This is so late, And Demuslim has been doing right. Look at the plating. +2 armor. He could have gone +3. Not only that, he can also go to a single battle cruiser, and that will actually be so hard for his opponent to stop. But when you're going +2 to +2 plating, you can see these are doing 2 attacks of 14 against Vikings. You're actually reducing the amount of damage substantially every single time by 4 damage.
Even the Thors, man. The Thors get -4 damage because of that for every single
That's
upgrade.
Right. So it's so much.
MMA knows. He saw the massive medevacs. He's lifting up his command center. He needs to be able to protect it. Demuslim is going to go for it. He's got his massive Vikings. He even has Marauders and Marines on the low ground as well. Maybe to even run by or support Demuslim. Is he just going to fake and dodge? I guess he's going to move over to the side. MMA has too much vision. Demuslim now can control this area and really juke out his opponent.
I think MMA is not going to be too happy with his next attack. Here we go.
Is he going to be able to do it? The scatter drop says Andre, but the Raven does drop 2 points. Defense drones, the units are dropping directly onto the tanks.
God.
And Demuslim crushes the bottom mech army.
That is how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. Bio against mech at its finest. Demuslim taking air control and enabling this army so much. Now he's going to go up into the production line. What can MMA do? He has units on the opposite side of the map. This is terrible for MMA, and he's going to be forced to actually lift off. But where can he actually put all these units? These Marines and Marauders are ready to engage against these siege tanks, and they're not ready either. Stim goes off, and goodbye siege tanks. They're so brittle with 3-0 upgrades. My God, Demuslim.
Check. Mate, GG gets called out. Demuslim takes game number 1 in this best of 3 with, again, the great use of medevac. Andre, you were saying it minutes ago that Demuslim just needed to get off that scatter drop successfully, baiting a lot of things going into the main, but says, you know what, I recognize I just need a section off. Also, he recognized there's a lot of tanks attacking my 5th base, which realistically I don't care about as long as I can get to the production line. Awesome, awesome army movement from Demuslim.
That's right, and it really shows a new style, I think, of bio that we don't normally see. Normally, it's just Marine Marauder, medevac, and then at like 3 base, you switch over to siege tanks or you switch over to battle cruisers. But this is kind of a new style. To be completely honest, it's a new style that we're seeing plating, and he's researching everything into empowering his air and getting Viking counts out. And that way he can get his air control and really empower the ground upgrades and keep it going. So, you know, 1-1, 2-2, and 3-3 can be made. A lot of styles actually back off after 1-1 and say, whoa, I don't need to upgrade my ground anymore. Let me focus on the more important units, whether it be siege tanks, whether it be battle cruisers.
Game number 1 was brought to you by Squarespace for everything you need for websites creation, as well as just maybe some spot for a blog of some sort. Maybe you want to make a resume. Go to nasl.tv/p/Squarespace, where you can create your own thing for a 14-day trial, and then maybe even if you like it, you subscribe. I'm using Squarespace. You should too. When we come back, game number 2 between Demuslim and MMA. 1 step in the right direction. 2 makes the upset. We'll find out what happens right after this.